How's it going, folks? Welcome back to another Ranger Talk video, and I'm very excited about this one. I'll be speaking with none other than the magnificent Tsar of Feathers. What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, enjoying the day and this discussion, of course.
Oh, good, good. Well, thank you both so very much for joining me. Like I said, I've been really looking forward to talking with you all, so I really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
My pleasure. So first and foremost, would you all mind introducing yourselves and letting us know what role in the band you have?
Yeah, should I go first? I can go first. So I'm Jussi, and I play the keyboards, and I guess I'm kind of like the father of this music since I started it and gathered the folks to perform these songs. So that's my role.
Yeah, and I'm Elvan. I live in Finland, but I'm from Canada originally. I'm the vocalist. I've also participated in the vocal arrangements and yeah, I guess.
Awesome. Awesome. So how did the band originally start? How did the idea for the band form, and how did everyone really come together to actually form the band?
Yeah, well, it's a not that strange story, but a long one. But I keep it short. So it actually happened around COVID time. I'm so bored of talking about COVID, but that made this shift that I figured out that I have like 45 minutes extra time every day because not needing to commute anywhere. So I figured out that how to use that time. I should do more sports. But then I figured out that on the other hand that hey, I want to learn to play keyboards more. Keyboards been always there for me, but I want to learn more. And then I started to compose actually. Um, and then I get those songs. Then I figure out that these songs are not fitting for my other band where I'm playing guitar. So then came idea to do a project like this and get a people on board and do some music.
How neat.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, no, go ahead, Elvan. Sorry.
I was just gonna say then you reached out to me by email, I think, at some point.
Yes,
Like I think you found me on YouTube, right? Was it
yes,
on
actually,
YouTube?
it
Yeah,
was
okay,
on
okay,
YouTube.
okay.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay,
And the
okay.
funny thing was that it wasn't even a singing video where I remembered you. I saw some of your singing videos or where you sing and like the voice, but then I remembered that I had seen it already before. I think you had done some other YouTube content as well. So I remembered, hey, this is the lady.
Yeah, and it
And
so happens that we're in the same country.
yes, that was the straightest thing. Yeah,
How,
that was the
yeah,
straightest thing. Yeah.
that's so cool. So you were just thinking, you're like, okay, so now I got to get a singer. Let me browse YouTube, and and then you heard Elvan, and you're like, that's the one. You just knew right away.
Yeah, more or less. I really like her singing and her voice, and yeah, I was happy that she got involved. As said, I think I wrote maybe something on Instagram and then maybe sent email or vice versa, and very very professionally in that sense. But it turned out really well. I think it was. I'm thinking it was a positive surprise even bit to all of us that how good the end result then sounded in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. I receive a lot of requests by email by bands who want to collaborate and want me to work on vocals. But like the music that you sent was a very big highlight for me. Like it really stood out to me as like a project that sounded really great. So that's yeah.
Cool. Well, that's important to back it up with some killer music, and especially someone, who is receiving a lot of requests. It's like, okay, how do I stand out here? How do I really, get this person in? So that's really neat. So everything really works together really well for this band. And so your debut song, right, was Deeper into the Wonder.
Mhm. Yep.
Man, I still think about that song to this day, especially like the video, how it opens up, and then you see how you're playing the keyboards and the wind is blowing, and it's that awesome like melody and stuff. I was like, this is awesome. And then Elvan, you start singing, and it's such a catchy melody. It really is an incredible debut song, I think, for any band or any musician. So it was really,
Yeah.
really impressive. And how do you, was that the first song that you wrote for the band?
It was, in fact, yes, it was the first one, and it came with that keyboard riff, the main riff that there is, and it started
Yeah.
to build around it. Then I figured out that when I compose with keyboards, I've always kind of like used keyboards as a side when doing music. But now when I fully compose the songs with keyboards, it comes out in a certain format and certain style, and it's just something that comes naturally. So cannot really describe it in a meaningful way. But what I like about keyboards, I love guitar as well. But what I like about keyboards is the different textures of sounds that you can get out of it. And these particular songs, I was really fascinated by this retro keyboard from Korg, the N364, which is used in the end of 90s heavy metal albums. There are these kind of bit cheesy but good sounds. So that kind of inspired. And the credits to that go to the drummer, actually, Jaakko, the drummer. He bought one, even though I think he cannot probably play it, or at least I've not seen. I can be wrong, so apologies, Jaakko. But he bought one because he wanted to own one because of the nostalgia and because of the sounds. And then I kind of like borrowed it from him for a year or so. Then I bought up one for myself as well. But thanks to that, his decision to buy it, I think we got these songs, and then we got why we are sitting here today.
Yeah, and it's really that like keyboard sound that really drew me in, because it had such like this like Nightwish vibe that I was looking
Yeah.
for, that has been my own inspiration for like starting music, actually. Like that Nightwish is the reason why I started doing music, really.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I like the band as well, but funnily, I've never kind of like played any of their songs with any instrument ever. I've listened to them like since the Carpenter single, since when it's 97 or something. So it must come there. Maybe if there is some influences, it comes subconsciously somewhere when going with the keyboard. But that was not the kind of intention that, hey, I'm gonna compose some Nightwishy songs and hope that.
But it has its own identity, really. Like, I don't think it sounds really like Nightwish, but it has this sort of like 80s synth vibe with metal. And I think that's what gives this or creates that connection a little bit. Like that.
Yeah. It's
and
very bright.
And I like epicness, so I like this kind of choir and orchestral arrangements. And I've never tested those properly before, and now we had a good chance to do that as well. So it's I have this feeling that maybe somebody thinks that it's all carefully planned out, but it just turned out this way. So
Right. Well, that's the greatest things, right? You know, the things that aren't planned, but just really just come from you, you know, and it just almost creates itself, you know, through you. And yeah, I mean, that's one thing that is really cool about that song too, is because the keyboard is so bright, and you know, there's like the synth elements, but then you kind of craft, like you said, kind of that Nightwish kind of like the orchestral stuff around that and everything. It creates a very unique sound because sure, you know, you can maybe hear some influences in the music and stuff, but at its core, it's very unique and it's very fresh sounding. And I think that goes a very long way for standing out in the music scene and, you know, the symphonic metal scene and all that stuff, because you get a lot of carbon copies, you know, so it's just really, really fresh. And then, you know, the other songs, because you've released 3 songs, right?
Correct.
And each song, so far, oh, I like that. I like that. Good, good, good. but each song has its own identity. It sounds like Star of Feathers, but it still has its own identity. It doesn't sound like you're
Mhm.
just doing the same thing over and over again, which is cool because I believe it was the third single. I forget the name now, but that one really has the most Nightwish vibe, I would say, just in its structure and how it's kind of this epic telling, through the lyrics and the music, and it's quite complex.
Mhm.
How did that one come to be? Because whereas Deeper into the Wonder, I would say, is maybe a little bit more straightforward, but that third one is very complex, but put together so well.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did you
There's
come
an
up with
yeah. The song is called "Zenith of My Opera."
Zine? That's right.
Yeah, yeah. The idea behind that one is that there's no clear chorus and no clear verse in such terms that you would repeat those parts by singing. So there are parts that get repeated, but I think none of the sung vocal parts gets repeated. So the idea is that it would be a story, kind of like a play or a
Yeah.
script for a play or opera or whatever. So that was the kind of leading idea. And I hadn't tried that before, and I wanted to give it a shot, and I think it turned out pretty well. So it's kind of a journey. It's a cliche to say so, but that's how I see it, and that's the kind of a story behind it. That you want to tell a story, and you do that when you write lyrics normally, but then I figure out that hey, I want to try it in such a way that actually the music also tells a story, that it doesn't repeat that type that okay, you repeat the chorus 3 times and preach 2 times, or maybe 3 times and maybe pre-chorus here and there, and only have like a C part that is standalone. So that's the kind of leading idea behind that song. But then it became also the most epic, bombastic, if I may quote some Italian guy called Luca Turilli. So epic, bombastic, mystic.
Oh, that Luca Turilli. I love Luca Turilli. He's one of my favorite guitarists of all time. He's such a great composer. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, the song really is epic and bombastic, and it's just so beautifully done. And like you said, it's like a production. It's like the story, and it's just so cool. Um, Elvan, because each song is kind of different, how do you approach your vocals for each of these different songs? Because again, there's a little bit of a different flavor to each song, so it's not just like the same thing over and over again. Is that fun for you?
Yeah, of course it is fun. Wow, like that's actually a really, really good question because I don't really think about it like very deeply when I'm like approaching the vocal work, because like I think like I go through this process where I will record like scratch vocals to have an idea of like what the direction should be sounding like, but then I'm approaching the recording like really section by section, and I like will record different versions until something like really sticks for me, and then I'll create this like comp version of the vocals. It's pretty much a standard in like recording, where you don't just record like one live performance. You're gonna make a sort of like new version with all of the like best segments, basically. But like one of the parts of this process is really like each section gets its own like moment where I'm actually sitting down and I'm spending this time like figuring out, okay, does it sound better if like I sing it this way or this other way? And then I'll try maybe like, I mean, sometimes it's pretty quick and like I get it in a couple of takes, but I kind of do this creative process at the same time as I'm recording. So like I'll be like recording 2 or 3 versions and then listening and be like, okay, how can I make this better? And then I'll record a couple more versions and how can I make this better? And I keep iterating. So it's very iterative. And I always also keep in mind the like bigger picture of like, okay, where is the climax and where do we want to put this like the most emphasis? And also like what's behind the lyrics. And I think like Deeper in the Wonder is one that really like shines for me in terms of like that kind of vocal work, because the chorus is, I decided to sing it like in a very like light way, very bright way, because it felt like a really positive song, and I didn't want to come in with like a big voice, you know, that would not have worked. And also the melody was written in a way that was like that led into this. So like good work on on the like melodic writing part, which is Jussi, who really wrote the melodies. But the way that the melodies were written also kind of informed the vocal work a lot, if that makes sense. And a good vocal line, when it's well written, it sounds better. So yeah.
And I must give you big credit also for the backing vocal stuff. I had basically zero ideas for those, and you composed really cool and really musical backing vocals. So
Thank you.
we were listening those in the studio and admiring that these are really cool. We haven't heard as great backing vocals before, so kudos on that as well.
I appreciate that a lot, because when I started my journey as a singer, and I started recording, you know, like I had a lot of insecurities about my harmonies. First, I was coming from a classical singing background, like where we don't have vocal harmonies, or like, you know, it's live and it can be like a choir, but like vocal harmonies in like in a pop, or like in this case metal context, are very different in terms of writing, and I would approach my like vocal lines like a counterpoint. So that sounded like very kind of classical, but over time, like I developed this way of like combining this like classical world and make it sound more modern, if that makes sense. So I appreciate it, because that's many years of like trying to figure out, okay, how can I make this actually sound good? And I struggled a lot in the beginning when I started recording, even if, you know, I was a trained singer. Like that's like vocal production is its own like world, if that makes sense. It's its own like craft. So I appreciate it.
That's so neat. And yeah, that's another thing that's cool, you know, just because in the vocals themselves, there's a uniqueness there. And perhaps that kind of comes from you taking your background and kind of shifting it to suit the need, but like there's still that influence in there. So you get something that's different from someone who was specifically trained to do it this one way, because you're kind of adapting.
Yeah. I'd say so, you know, because in the classical world, like one of the ways we learn to create like melodies that like are laid on top of each other is very like, each melody is really its own line. And like that's like we call it counterpoint. Like we're really focused on having two melodies that are kind of playing with each other, if that makes sense. It's a little bit like if you listen to Bach, like there's a lot of, you can really distinguish those separate melodies. But when you're like dealing with a bigger production in like metal, you can't really have this approach, because it just becomes way too dense. Because there's already all those like other lines, like there's the keyboard, there's the guitars, there's all of that stuff. So like while it can have its place, like there's a need for something that blends a little bit more in the background, if that makes sense. But like combined together, like I think there's a nice sweet spot where, yeah.
Cool. So yeah, whereas Deeper Into the Wonder is a little bit more straightforward, I would say, melody wise. When it came to Zenith of My Opera, it seems like you had a little bit more freedom to kind of play around a little bit. Was that difficult approaching that when you heard that? Like, oh man, how do I approach this one? You know, there's a lot of options.
Yeah, like I think like when you sent me the song, you see, like I was looking at it, okay, how am I going to like make this work? And like I knew that I could make it work, but it was more like the how, because I wanted it to sound epic, but like some of the parts are actually really high. And for me to say something is really high, it's really high. I don't remember actually how high it was, but it was like right below the Phantom of the Opera.
Wow.
I think so, if I remember correctly. Like we recorded this like what 2-3 years ago, so it's a while, but I think yeah, like it was really high. And one of the challenges of singing high is that in the it's really difficult and or nearly impossible on like an acoustic perspective to really make the words clear. And my challenge was to try to make an arrangement in which like you could still hear the words, you could still hear things really clearly, and still have this kind of really epic like ending. And yeah, that's actually like one of the biggest challenges. And like in general in my work as a vocalist, like the challenge, the biggest challenges that I come across are either when the music is very quick and there's no space for the words, or when it's really high and it stays really high and it needs to be, and there's words. That is really hard because you like, so a lot of the times what I'm gonna do, and I don't actually remember how I did it with Zenith of my opera, but one of the things that I tend to do is to double the higher parts an octave down, so that I can get like the pronunciation from the bottom parts, and in the mix we can kind of like make it work.
Wow.
Yeah, so like there's this, you know, lower line that's meant to just support and give like more depth to the sound, and to really like you can really hear the articulation of the words, and then you still have this upper voice that can be a little bit less clear.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And
That makes
what comes to that ending is the highlight for me for that song, because then it really peaks. It's really the zenith of that song. The funny thing though is that I didn't think of that. There is a human who needs to sing this, and humans have ranges.
It's just, oh yeah, this would be cool if it's like this and that, and oh, this would be really
Yeah, I
neat
thought,
if someone has to do it.
I thought he hit really high notes from the keyboard for that, and didn't think of that more. I was thinking that okay, she will arrange this, and then she hit those notes, and I was like, whoa, this is the best thing ever.
Awesome, that's hilarious.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
this is the story of carefully planned great composition.
Right.
Yeah. No, but that's great. I think that like to some extent, so like yeah, part of like singing really high can be challenging. However, like I think that it's always relative to like if you would have sent me a song that is only like super high the whole way across, I would have raised the flag because it tends to not sound so good. But when you use those melodic elements to really create a climax, that works. And this was written in a way that I felt like, okay, we can make this work. We just have to figure out how to make it really sound good in terms of the arrangement. And hence came, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure, knowing myself, that I probably gave you like an octave down line for this one.
Yep.
Yeah, I did, right? Okay.
But I tend to think of this analogy kind of like in action movies. So if you see an action movie that has explosions throughout the movie, so at the end when there's a million explosions, you feel like, oh, I've seen it.
Yeah.
So that's the idea, like getting this climax, you know, have that one explosion somewhere and then calming down again, or not to overuse it, because if you overuse it, then of course it becomes boring.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great analogy, you know. Like in the action movies, you need to have like a couple like kind of cool skirmishes throughout to keep the action going, but then save like the big thing till the end. And that's what's great about this song, is the payout or the payoff is really great, because it's this epic journey, you know, and it's longer, you know, but it really keeps your attention. But then that payoff at the end just really sends it, you know, into the stratosphere, really brings it home. And it's like, oh man, it just feels like this complete work. So yeah, really, really cool how that was put together. And it's funny, you know, hearing about some of the ways technically that the vocals are done for those kind of elements and things is really neat. But you see, so you compose the songs on the keyboard.
Mhm.
Do you also kind of compose the guitar and the bass and the drums, or do you kind of send? How do you send the songs to the other musicians in the band?
Yeah, drums I don't compose at all. That's intentional. So I just put some sort of either click track or then just some sort of
Mm.
8-beat or some stupid drum loop to play there, and total freedom for the drummer, and that actually shapes the songs a lot. So they sound quite different when there is this kind of those climaxes and those calmer parts and all that. That is mostly with the work of drums. So those are fully 100% credited to the drummer, and he arranges those himself and plays them for me, and then we maybe think something together, but mostly it's his work. And this time, I played some demo guitars myself, and a lot of that ended up on the final, but there was also a flavor and arrangements of the guitar player Asko himself also doing that. And well, it was teased already that there's more to come, so we try to approach it now, or I'm thinking to approach it in more that way, just to have limited amount of guitars on my demos, and then give more space to Asko to come up with his own stuff there. And bass, there is Huikka, Kari Huikuri, who also engineers this stuff with me, and he also gave a lot of good help with the keyboards, like selecting the sounds and layering them, what sounds good together and what is enough, because I tend to put too much stuff. so he's also good at pointing out that this already is enough. And yeah, he came up with the bass parts basically, and so, likewise we had violin in all of the 3 songs. In Deeper Into the Wonder, it was more violin and a bit less on the others. But anyway, I described it as in written what I would like to parts to be, or so the video that, hey, this might be something that could be there, or make this more MacGyver, or make this more Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that was the kind of guidelines.
Wow.
So pretty good work there from Olli to do those. And I like that, because maybe that's part of the secret here, why it sounds natural, that there's no this kind of like, it's not a one-man vision, even though I have kind of like composed those songs and kind of like kicked this whole thing off. So I like that the people who take part in it give their own flavor, and really most of the time I'm just surprised positively that this turned out better. I rarely encountered something that, oh, I could have played this myself better, or my idea was better, or something like that. So I haven't had that kind of approach. There are people who have so strong vision that they want like every pinch of a guitar note to be perfect with their vision, but I have maybe, let's say that I have a roadmap that there is some sort of a way there in between, but the surroundings are quite blurry, and then we together put the surroundings into a picture.
Awesome.
More with analogies. I'm an analogy man today.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's so cool. Yeah. So Elva, you said that I guess Zenith of My Opera was recorded like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think
But
so, right?
that song only dropped like 2 or 3 months ago. So you really sit on these songs and really, because the first song was like a couple of years ago that it was released, right? So
Yep.
there's been 3 songs in like a couple of years. I mean, you really take your time to kind of release these things
Yeah,
instead of just...
yeah. There are many reasons for that. So we didn't have a full album to kind of like put those out together. And we wanted to do properly, like do videos and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And you know that is not like that it's for free as well. So
Right.
yeah. And so we wanted I've been thinking that with this band we're gonna do things like properly. So there's plans that we do more and hopefully maybe in a bit faster phase put them out. But that's the kind of thing. There's no like nobody's been pushing and on that side like there's no deadlines and nobody's like financially dependent on this. So it's not anybody's bread is missing from the
Yeah.
table because of timelines. So we have taken our time. Hasn't been rush on that.
That's cool. It just all comes, casually and naturally when you all feel like it. And it's almost like just a passion project. And like you said, it's not like you're all relying on having to do this to put food on the table. Was it fun doing the music videos? Do you like doing those, getting everyone together and performing those?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah. We have some good moments from that.
Yeah, and you know this, you know this the wind machine.
Yeah. Yeah, our biggest metal fan.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Who's that?
The one and only.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
a huge metal fan that we used to put the wind as a
Oh,
wind
really?
machine. Yeah.
Oh, a big fan. I was thinking you were talking about like a person, like a fan of the band, but no, it's like an actual like big fan.
No, like a literal
Yeah.
big metal fan. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that was great. I think even in my reaction, I commented that very first moment, my very first like 30 seconds of seeing that video and hearing the song, I was like, this keyboard melody is sick. This dude behind the keyboard with the wind blowing his hair is awesome. I was like, this is metal as you can get. This is so cool. So
Yeah.
that metal fan paid off.
Yeah, well, I think the only thing we need now is a smoke machine, and then we're all covered. So.
Right.
Yeah. I know someone with a smoke machine.
Oh man. Uh, is it stressful, like putting together the music videos, or is it just kind of fun? Do you go into it knowing kind of how you're going to film it, or do you just kind of go with the flow?
Yeah, so I think the hardest part is in the editing, but there's a guy
Oh,
who does that, so we don't influence that. So we just enjoy the good parts, doing some wacky stuff on front of a camera. Well, of course, we have needed to take the drums, to load in the drums, and that's always a bit of
right.
a sweaty work. There's so plenty of drums, but other than that, it's all fun and games. So.
Cool. Have you all gotten the chance to play live yet?
Nope, because of so limited amount of songs. There were some actually possibilities offered to
Oh,
do
wow.
a live show, but we would have needed to do covers, and we were actually thinking about doing some of Elven's compositions. So she has a catalog of music, so
Wow.
maybe doing some of that. But then I figure out that okay, let's compose some more songs, and when we have enough, then we could maybe do some spectacle around maybe Helsinki, capital of Finland area. So we'll see about that. Would be fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I would.
So there's more on the way. The band is still going strong.
Yeah. So there's more songs, and we intend to record those. And I don't have an exact timeline to give you that when we are able to put those out. But yeah, you'll hear from us.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to that. And you said that I guess both of you are involved in other bands. What kind of other bands are you involved with?
Well, I have had this like I think most of my adult age a band called Force Major. So that legal term, force majeure, or what is the
Right.
proper pronunciation for it? So
That's correct. Yeah.
yeah,
Special.
yes. So I have had that since 98 or something like that. So pretty long time, and we
Yeah.
have put out plenty of demos back in the day, but 3 full-length albums, and fourth one has been in the making. So it's power metal stuff. I think you should check that out.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to because I've never heard of that, but I definitely got to check that out. And Elvan, you're involved in a lot of projects like collaborations. Do you like doing the collaborations, or do you kind of like being like a full member of a band?
Like, I mean, the line is very thin, right? Between collaborating and being full-time in a band. Well, I don't know what full-time would actually mean. I think that like I'm my own artist and I just end up, singing with other projects, and
Yeah,
like when it works well, we just keep working together.
yeah.
But like I'm not a touring artist, I'm a recording artist. So I mostly record vocals for bands.
Mm.
But like I'd say that there's two projects for me that are sticking out, and Tzar of Feathers is one. But also I think you've reacted to my other band, Far and Beyond. Yeah.
Far
Yeah,
and
we had
Beyond.
Far and Beyond. We did Last Kiss Goodnight. I think you reacted to it if maybe I'm
Huh.
wrong.
I'll have
Yeah.
to check. I mean, sometimes these things I do so many
Yeah, of
reactions.
course.
It's like
There's so many. Yeah. No,
there's
no,
a
no, no
lot.
worries.
Far and Beyond. Okay. So Force
Yeah, yeah.
Majeure and Far and Beyond, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, Far and Beyond we do a bit like it's kind of there's a bit of a prog
Okay.
like vibe to it. Yeah. We're working on a couple of songs. I'm a bit of the bottleneck because I'm so overworked.
Mm.
But the we have one song that is out, and it came out like a long time ago. And then we have like a cover that we put out also. So
Okay.
one original song and one cover. So, but yeah, it's fun. It's kind of like, yeah, prog synth metal.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very
And it's
cool.
like mostly just like a fun project. It's a hobby project. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, those are the best kinds, right? The ones that you just really like to be a part of, and not ones that you're just trying to do just to make ends meet or whatnot, but the
Yeah,
passion projects. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, I'm really looking forward to the future of Star of Feathers. I can't wait for more music. So far, I mean, it's just really impressive debut here. I mean, three for three, all three songs are just excellent and, different, but still at its core, it's Star of Feathers, and it's just really exciting. So I'm really looking forward to more. And thank you both so much for joining me here. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having us.
yeah, thanks. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the pleasure is truly all mine. And thank you, folks out there, for watching. And in the description below, I'm going to put all the links for Star of Feathers, the social media, links to the videos if you haven't seen them yet. So, yeah, now is a good time, I think, to start following them and see what they get up to in the future. And again, if you missed out on the releases already, check them out. Check them out. So all that's in the description below. Go look at that. And yeah, again, thank you both one last time, and thank you all folks for tuning in. I'll catch you all next time. Ranger out.